Entire empires once survived using knowledge we now call obsolete. That word, obsolete, is dangerous. Because every time we label a skill outdated, what we're really saying is, we trust the future so much, we'll never need the past again. And history has a habit of proving us wrong. Somewhere between convenience and overconfidence, humanity convinced itself that ancient survival practices didn't matter anymore. But these methods weren't primitive. They were precise, tested by centuries, engineered by people who couldn't afford to be wrong. Today, they're dismissed simply because modern tools exist, not because they don't work. Welcome back to Legacy of Survival. And today we're exposing ancient knowledge that should never have been forgotten. In most cities, you turn a tap and water appears like magic. But for thousands of years, survival depended on knowing how to trap, collect, and purify water from nothing. The Nabateans, yes, the same culture that built Petra, survived in deserts by reading landscapes like weather reports. They carved tiny channels into sandstone that directed rainwater into underground reservoirs. No pumps, no pipes, and no wasted drops. They even built overflow zones so floods wouldn't destroy their system. Meanwhile, we build cities that flood when it rains too hard. Clay pots, once used by Romans and Africans alike, acted as natural water filters. The micropores in the clay slowed water down, letting sediment settle while the cool temperature prevented bacterial growth. Today, that would cost hundreds of dollars and be marketed as an eco-filtration innovation. Back then, it was just common sense. This knowledge isn't obsolete, it's insurance. Because if plumbing fails, everything else fails with it. Somewhere along the way, we decided that fire starters and lighters made ancient fire skills irrelevant. Yet firefighters and bushcraft experts know the truth. In the worst conditions, the old ways outperform the modern ones. Indigenous cultures from the Arctic to East Africa learned to harvest resin from trees like pine and acacia. Resin burns hot and bright, even when wet. Soldiers in World War II carried resin to light stoves in frozen camps where matches snapped like toothpicks. Viking navigators coated resin with animal fat to make torches that burned like portable suns. Today, most people don't know how to start a fire without pressing a plastic button. Here's the part that stings. If a storm knocks out power or an earthquake stops the supply of butane and matches, tech won't matter. The person who knows how to coax fire from damp earth, they win. Modern navigation is so automated that getting lost feels like a glitch, not a possibility. But early explorers crossed oceans without satellites, maps, or engines. They followed currents, winds, and stars. Polynesian navigators read the ocean like a fingerprint. They memorized wave patterns caused by distant islands, waves created by land they couldn't even see. Medieval traders in the Sahara learned to track the direction of dunes shifting under their feet. The Tuareg knew when to travel by the temperature of sand alone. Chinese explorers used lodestones, a natural magnetic mineral, long before compasses had flourished in Europe. You know, modern navigation feels superior. Until a battery dies. The ancient methods weren't obsolete, they were, well, offline mode. Before electricity, food preservation was the only thing standing between a household and, honestly, starvation. And yet these methods are treated like hobbies today, quaint relics, not serious skills. Fermentation wasn't just culture, it was survival. Korean families buried kimchi jars underground to control fermentation temperature. In Kenya, Maasai communities preserved milk with smoke and natural acids, extending its life for weeks in dry seasons. Scandinavian fishermen salted and air-dried cod so effectively that it stayed edible for years. Soldiers in World War I relied on hardtack, a brutally simple recipe of flour, water and salt, baked until nearly indestructible. Dry, tasteless, but if you had it, you lived. None of this depends on a fragile grid. None requires a supply chain, and all of it still works. So why do we call it outdated? It's not outdated. It's inconvenient. It demands patience, discipline, awareness. Those traits don't trend well in a world of instant. Modern medicine, you know, has saved countless lives. But dismissing traditional remedies just because they came from mud instead of microscopes, that's, well, foolish. The foundations of pharmacology were ancient plants, tested by trial, error and generational memory. Willow bark, used by Egyptians and Greeks to reduce pain and fever, actually contains salicin, the chemical precursor to aspirin. Honey, used in Europe, Africa and Asia to heal wounds, is antibacterial and creates a barrier that starves infection. Indigenous Americans used yarrow to stop bleeding. Even today, soldiers on survival missions learn this plant on sight. The problem isn't that traditional knowledge is unreliable. It's that we, forgot how to tell which knowledge is reliable. Obsolete doesn't mean useless. It just means inconvenient to the current system. The modern world runs on specialization. Ancient survival, on the other hand, ran on versatility. You had to be your own plumber, doctor, mechanic, navigator and fire starter. Not because it was romantic, but honestly, because it was the only option. If the system cracks, for a day, a week, or even a year, skills become currency. And the person who knows how to act without instructions, well, that person becomes the expert. Ancient knowledge was never designed to be impressive. It was designed to keep people alive. This channel is called Legacy of Survival for a reason. Our ancestors left a blueprint. We treat it like outdated paperwork. But those blueprints still fit. They fit emergencies. They fit failure. They fit reality when technology takes a day off. Learning these skills isn't going backwards. It's going forward with a backup plan. The future is uncertain, but knowledge is permanent, and the skills we call obsolete might be the very skills that save someone's life one day. So the next time someone says, "Why learn that?" we don't need it anymore. Hear it for what it really is. Hope disguised as certainty. And hope is not a strategy. If this woke something up inside you, if you felt that spark of curiosity or that pull toward practical history, there's more coming. We're building something here, a place where ancient knowledge isn't nostalgia, it's power. So hit subscribe, leave a like if you want more episodes like this. Share this with someone who still believes old skills don't matter anymore. And stay with us. Because legacy isn't about the past, it's about what survives. Until next time, this is Legacy of Survival. Stay curious, stay prepared, and never stop learning.